beautiful panel members, wherein the mix of composition, if you see, so we will hear perspective from academia, we'll hear perspective from biotech and financial institutions. So let's get on to the topic. So the topic is, the software as a service, SaaS, and this is one of the fast emerging topic, because you go to any of the forum, at least one word which we keep on hearing is cloud computing, and that's how this gets emerged. So there are different views around software as a service, because different people, different organization think it in a different model. And if we clearly see software as a service, the business model is something wherein customers pay for whatever you use, and primarily we use a software which is on a remote hosted a computer, and that's how this entire word of the SaaS coined in. Software as a service, infra as a service, and platform as a service. These are the three important service model hosting of the cloud, and that's how it's being loosely used being word. Now, if we have to understand the nomenclature, what happens is this: over a period of time we'll see that at least when this .com boom came in, we saw that there's a fast emergence of cloud which kept on coming, and it's quite different from the traditional way of the software what we use, because here if we see, generally each and everything, all transactions happens through network and it happens on internet. So there are various questions which comes, there are various challenges which comes to the organizations, and still we see that as a adoption level, it's not very high. Although there are softwares like CRM, payroll, and content management, those systems which has quite picked it very well. So let's hear from the industry experts. Let's hear from people who have really used SaaS in different forms. Let's hear that what are the different challenges and what are the different opportunities which they see in the SaaS growth, and then accordingly what best can be done so that we take SaaS in the next level. Dr. Sunil, so let me come to you and initiate and start this discussion. SaaS is not only for one industry; it is across industry vertical, and this is for across usage. So different type of usage, different type of industry vertical is there. Now the bigger question, which is this: what would be the universal fit of each and every applications which is related to SaaS and its industry category? So what's your view on this?
When it comes to implementation or adopting this, generally it becomes very difficult to find advocacy about this aspect. When we all know that if we have a look on the technological advancements, everything boiled down on three different aspects. The one, data, which has always been on the core of any environment, any platform. Then how to make sure that data reaches safely, securely to the people, those who actually want to access it, that network, and then that interface, which makes sure that without knowing internal intricacies of the system which is deployed, people are able to access it. And all these advancements, of course, over the period in the last 50 years, the technology has moved from networks to a more sophisticated platform, which we call cloud. The databases has evolved from files to databases to data warehouses. Then now we are talking about different database systems where a different kind of data, whether it is structured or unstructured or semi-structured, everything we are able to store. And then we have complex kind of applications interfaces where, irrespective of the place, a secure platform, we are getting to have access of that data. But entire evolution have always been focused on these three dimensions. In every stage of development, there have been certain concerns. The topmost concern in all the prospects have been the security. That's something which have always bothered to people. And then something, while going for deployment of an IT environment, we all know that we need to have something which is abstract, and then something which actually exists, which is tangible, the hardware. Now, over the period, we have seen that people have started focusing on their core competency, and that focusing on that core competency because of increased competitiveness, increased competition. The owning something where it requires competency to maintain it, to own it, and put additional cost, probably without which people used to think that they could not survive. So now people started thinking on two fronts. Number one, what is actually their core competency? And if they could focus on their core competency, it will create more business value for them. It will provide, give them opportunity. It will help them in creating some better user experience for the consumers. But on the other hand, to create certain kind of application, people used to, and of course, it requires certain kind of hardware. When it comes to hardware, the investment in hardware, and then after investment, after setting up those entire infrastructure, you need to hire people, you need to look after the maintenance, you need to look into different aspects to making it secure, and then ensure that system runs in 24/7. So if we have a broader look on all these perspectives, most of the time organizations were forced to focus on something which was not their core competency area. But with the emergence of the cloud, now as an organization, we have that opportunity to understand our strength, to focus on what we can do, and probably without bothering about something which is not core for you. And that's where these clouds are playing very important, whether it is infrastructure, whether it is software, whether it is the platform, whether it is now databases also are considered to be as a service. So number of things have started emerging, and software as a service is, of course, it's something which in any way, if we are related to the field of information technology, we have to use it. And if something which facilitates us to use it without owning it, without bothering about its maintenance, without bothering about its security or safety measures, this is something which is of very much interests the people. Now, what this cloud has done, when we talk about SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS, or other services, we see that this implementation of cloud, inclusion of cloud has played very important role in accessibility, because now there are people, those who have competency, those who have deployed that setup, those who have expertise in that. They are from backend, they are supporting in this entire process. We are not required to put in lots of money to own that hardware, to install it, and then to manage it and maintain it. Rather, pay as for use. Now it drastically reduces the cost. Number one. Then we can start with our current requirement, and if requirement increases, that scalability is something which is very important, because we never know today the kind of infrastructure, the kind of services we require. Only God knows what will happen in the future. So that scalability is something which is very important, and these cloud-based services have played very important roles. These are accessibility, then operations management. We have core staff, we have core people, those who have competency, those who are able to take care of all those things, leaving us to focus on our competency. And that focusing on that competency has gave the way to coming up with different innovative applications, which we have been witnessing in last so many years, at least from the emergence of these. So secondly, it has also helped the new startups and new entrepreneurs to start their work even with a smaller investment. And that's why probably the software as a service is becoming very much popular. But at the same time, we all know that one solution cannot fit for everything, for every environment. There are a number of applications which are in existence. There are a number of platforms where we have been working. Like if an environment works on real-time system, where we like OLTP kind of system, where online legal processing has to be done, or online legal transactions are to be done. Probably this software as that SaaS may not be a suitable choice, because we have been a wide interaction on different platforms. When we discuss with the people, those who are working in those environments, where online OLAP or OLTP kind of applications are running, people are hesitant to talk about implementation about this SaaS system. So I think with as we are very much hopeful, we are listening about the features of 5G, that it is going to revolutionize the kind of broadband, the kind of internet facilities we are having. Last month, I was in a discussion with Mr. Vincent Cerf, who is considered to be the father of internet. When we were talking to him that in what direction this internet is moving, because ultimately for cloud the backbone is internet, and at most of the time it happens that as a user we might be interested in using and implementing all these things, but many a times it happens that bandwidth, the internet connectivity becomes an issue. So just we were discussing about those things, in what direction this is heading towards and how this cloud sees its future in next 50 years. Very interesting reply he gave, that now people are thinking about creating from moving from gigabit kind of transactional speed to something else, where this we are already working on this quantum computing, where we are talking about transmission of information, transmission of data as per the speed of light, but something ahead of it. So in future we may see these things, but as of now, when we talk about the people, especially those who are working in these environments, they're hesitant in this. Secondly, is still there are lots of organization. This is really a surprise, but still, even in industry, when we talk people, is still their trust and confidence on cloud environment. That kind of the kind of confidence is required, because ultimately the data is kept away from the users. And when data is kept away from the user, data has been considered to be one of the most scarce resource, and people cannot afford to have any doubt on this. So something like this, in spite of the fact that we have private cloud now, hybrid clouds have also been started using, still there are certain organizations, those who are hesitant on 3 dimensions. Number one, the environment where OLAP, OLTP kind of operations are required or transactions are required. Those organizations are hesitant in going for SaaS kind of application and even migrating on cloud. The organization for whom the data is on top priority because of the lack of, or not that much confident, not say lack, but they are still not that much confident to keep their data away from their premises to off premises. So I think in future, if things settle down, hybrid clouds start giving the expected result, where some kind of private and public cloud features could be experienced, and we experience the functioning in a secure way, might be their thought process change, because this COVID-19 had already shown its effect, and people have started realizing its importance. And even those who were very hesitant, they were very adamant that they will not go for these things. They found that this was the only way to keep things on. So probably these kind of experiences will help in building up that confidence, so that people move from their conventional processes, conventional systems, to this platform, keeping pushing all their overheads to the people, those who can look after, and focusing them on the core competency area to build up some new and innovative applications.
You have brought in 2-3 very relevant points, that the evolution of when we talk about security, that's really important. You spoke about integration and interfaces, that's another important thing. You spoke about the evolution of data, that's also important. So all of these things will put together in terms of the success of this, and that's the reason we see that still, security is a concern. So there are many companies which feel like that the enterprise data should not move into cloud. Why? Because security is one of the concerns. So you have brought in very relevant, pertinent point. Let me move to Prasanna. And Prasanna, since you come from a financial service background, and financial service background, when I say, this is only industry which is highly regulated, apart from pharma and biotech. So want to hear from you that when it comes to SaaS adoption, generally the mindset is that still people think about the CRMs of the world or the ECMs of the world and all. Still, we haven't seen any core banking solution moving on to a SaaS model. And from India perspective, still there are a lot of hurdles in terms of really moving on to a SaaS platform for the core applications or the core processing layer. Now, what's your view, specifically financial services? If I talk about, what's your view? What do you think that like the clients or the financial services will take in terms of adopting the SaaS product, right? Because that mindset is still there. So beyond CRM, beyond HCM, what's your view of in terms of the adoption?
Everything is around customer. If a customer says tomorrow I want a cloud or some service wherever I am, that's how banks will adopt it, right? So say example, there are different types of banks. Say example, we have a cooperative banks, we have a PSU banks with a legacy of architecture, we have some heavy tech savvy bank like ICC, SDC, some of the challengers banks like IndusInd or DCB bank or a federal bank. And at the same time, you will see that some new kind of a banks are appearing called as a neobank kind of an architecture, wherein these are the fintech companies who are leveraging on the APIs of the bank and giving the much more needed services to the end user. Say example, phone pay or earlier it was a Paytm or Google Pay. So these are like some of the financial services which are already available, and these platforms are on cloud. They are on like SaaS kind of a model itself already. And if you will see any new bank will come up, they will always go for a kind of a cloud ready model. They will not go for some which is a legacy model. The challenge with the existing bank is that they have already invested a lot. They have already invested a lot, as Sunil sir was saying about resources, your employees. These employees know only data center and the relevant things. They do not know what is meant by cloud or how to manage that cloud ready applications. So as a bank, we have already invested on core banking and many other relevant applications which are only meant for a managed data center kind of application. And that doesn't mean that banks will not go for a cloud. They will have their own journey slowly how to go on a cloud adoption. It will not happen overnight, at least for those banks who has already invested. But some of the new banks are looking forward some of the ancillary or satellite application apart from core, they're already putting directly on the cloud. Some of the banks internet banking they have started putting on the cloud. There is a one or two banks wherein they have went for a cloud ready core banking solution. So it's a journey. So SaaS or adoption of any of the new thing, it's a journey, and every bank will go to that journey slowly, provided whether they have an internal expertise. Yes, then they go for the going for the technology, and so on. Coming back to the question like how adoption is happening. I think most of the banks are going with the cloud ready application for a non-core application, and they are learning out of that, and slowly they will move their core applications onto the cloud. Now here there is a one more rail, right? One more another parallel thread. Are your IT service providers, are they ready for the cloud ready solutions? Does Infosys or a TCS is ready for a cloud ready core banking? Answer is straightforward, yes or no, because that particular baseline of a core banking is not matured enough the way the current baseline is matured for most of the banks. So it's like a game for them also to make something on a cloud ready, and then they will go for a then I think in the future they will sell only cloud ready software, SaaS based software. Now if you, I think Sunil sir has touched upon the small tech companies, startups or entrepreneurs or fintech, their journey starts only on cloud, and their model also is a pay per use. They will never say that take this software, deploy it at your end and start it. There will be hardly very few. But if you ask any new model, say example, recently we were going ahead with a video KYC. Now why video KYC? Because earlier the customer who was visiting my branches, now he don't want to visit branches. What he want to do? He want to do KYC wherever he is. He's present at home. He want to do there itself. That's why initially I was saying about customer. Customer will drive you. Now it is the same customer who is watching on a Netflix or Amazon Prime and many more other channels. At the same time, now he wants the same all of your banking services, any of those services on the same platform. So I think there will be another kind of a channel which will arise from bank itself. Then they will provide this service on a SaaS model to the same customer on the same Netflix platform. That is why on a Netflix you are going to pay, you are allowed to pay to use that banking service to pay for that model. Or if you go on to the shopping mall or Flipkart, you are able to pay because that banking experience is already reached there. So if that is how we have to see tomorrow's banking. Although core applications will be around core applications will be around with you at a managed data center, but as a journey we will see how some of the satellite applications go on cloud, and slowly we'll adopt the cloud model. So here regulation is also studying. They also have all the guidelines how to deal with the cloud. They have IDRBT has already released some of the guidelines that how to choose a software based upon cloud. And ultimately, I think Sunil sir has also mentioned about security. Security is a main important aspect, or that mindset. That mindset has to be open mindset. So today banks are waiting how other bank will go on a cloud, then I'll go. Somebody has to take that initiative and go for a cloud. I think there is no rocket science, or there is no regulation behind you should not go on a cloud. There is a regulation that your data has to be there in India. So go for such services where your, if something goes wrong, some problem is there in the some kind of a fraud has happened, that investigation has to happen immediately. If your cloud is outside of India, it is not a technical investigation, it goes beyond the technical and the laws behind between the two countries. So that is why it is recommended you should have something in your country itself, so that you can really go for a immediate resolution. So I think, so in a nutshell, I think if you look at millennial customers want everything or tomorrow's banking there and there itself. So tomorrow's customer, Feroz sir, I would say that tomorrow's customers will not be only customers, only human beings. Tomorrow's customers gonna be your devices. Tomorrow's customers gonna be your IoT devices, like your refrigerator or your electric appliance, who is gonna pay electricity bill on themselves. Tomorrow's customer is gonna be your car. It's gonna be there at a petrol station. It will go there, will refuel and come back after a better payment experience. So tomorrow's customer is a customers, human beings plus devices also. That is why I think, and if I keep on doing this on managed data center, I will have a lot of downtimes. So this is something which banks understands, and banks will really look for some model wherein, suppose in a daytime or a night time, my all production applications are required. But if I go back to the development scenario where I am not utilizing my infrastructure in a night time, how can I really reutilize? I think those kind of satellite things, slowly bank will adopt, like development environment, some of the learning management app, some of the non-banking app, and then slowly will get into the actual core journey. So it's a journey, and slowly, rather slowly, I will say, current pandemic situation is making everybody digital, including customers. Digital transformation index has raised heavily in this last 3 to 4 months. I think some of the models like video KYC or customer onboarding or servicing to the customer, I think these kind of use cases are already going on a cloud. The way we handle so far core services on core banking, next level data or AI or big data, these algorithms require a lot of computations. Quantum computing, which sir was talking about, right? If you want to adopt quantum computing, and if you want to have those CPUs, dynamic CPUs to be allocated for your algorithm based upon your data, it cannot be possible in the current infrastructure. It has to be there on cloud, wherein we can, as much as a CPU you can allocate and keep on doing that computational journey. So I think that's a way to look at a future, and the banks or the organization would like to have that digital core banking kind of ecosystem. They don't have any other option rather than adopting cloud or a SaaS kind of a model.
Since you brought in point of industry vertical, which is banking and data localization, yes, data localization plays an important role. But having said that, yeah, I mean, going beyond, beyond the usage in cloud or a SaaS model does not really affect it. So yes, regulators have put in some clauses and all, but that's more in terms of the data localization. And more and more people or customers needs to be comforted in terms of the security, and then only the enterprise level cloud migration will happen. So very valid point which you have brought in, Prasanna. And definitely I see that over a period of time, at least industry vertical like finance also will move more and more into cloud. Now let me move to Pooja. And Pooja, since you come from a altogether a different industry vertical and a different experience altogether, and since SaaS is not only for one industry vertical, it's across industry vertical. So let me ask you that what's your view, and what do you think really determines the suitability of the SaaS products for various categories, and which can be beyond CRM and HCM, because CRM and HCM, everyone, most of the companies prefer to move on a SaaS model.
If I talk about suitability, is there are there are a lot of factors which are responsible, which helps us in taking the decision for SaaS. Like if you talk about traditional software, perpetual license was one of the important part, and wherein we had to make A lot of upfront cost was involved. There was a lot of infra cost which was involved, and a support fee which was again involved. So the biggest thing which helps in SaaS is the kind of model that they have for their price applications. They have a subscription fee, which is either a monthly fee or an annual fee. So this helps in a lot. And the SaaS vendors nowadays, they have typically, they price the applications in such a way that based on number of users, the applications can be used, and the customer is actually happy in putting their money in such kind of projects. Again, if I talk about more about SaaS, so scalability and integration has been a very important factor, which helps in, because if some of these SaaS applications, they support end user customizations, they allow APIs which can connect to the internal applications, which can either be CRMs, ERPs, because as we see, like if more of the customer centric or web based applications, people are ready these days, they have started moving them to cloud. But if we talk about financial systems, the ERPs, most of the companies, they are still trying to put their ERPs in-house only on-prem model because of security reasons and the management decisions. So SaaS actually helps in integrating this. They provide us APIs to connect with these, whereas this has been as per the subscription model as we go on. The biggest benefit has been work anywhere. If I say, you can access your software from anywhere where you want. Again, I would involve lower total cost of ownership. So as a IT person or as an IT head, if I see the unknown cost which we have while we are deploying or operating any of the licensed software, so that cost runs a lot. Sometimes there are a lot of unknown costs which are involved. And now software as a service, what they do is they bundle software, the hardware and support services. And as a business continuity, we can implement things and we can upgrade things. So, and security is again an important thing which they actually look for, and they are taking care of. So these are some of the things that rapid go live, I would say, going to market, that's been quite easy while deploying the SaaS models. And in our case, if I say in healthcare, or in my experience, like we did a lot of proof of concepts using the cloud model, and we took a small server, we tested the software functionality, and based on the model, the requirement that we have, we could have one instance of different versions, and then we can do the smooth migration. So this helped us a lot in our industry. And specifically, if I talk about healthcare these days, we have lab information system, we have our hospital information system, wherein SaaS vendors are available in market. And this not only like we had in diagnostics, we were on a model which was on-prem, and wherein there was a lot of cost which was involved while implementing the infra as well as the licensing part for every different lab which we could take care in tier 2 or tier 3 city. So what we did, we were looking for to cut the cost and also improve our operational efficiency using this model. So for our diagnostic, we moved everything from on-prem to cloud, wherein our vendor, he was actually taking care of the complete, he took care of the complete responsibility for the infra, for the security, upgrade, overall management of the product. So as an IT, I could actually involve my team members in doing some work more essential. So it helps in using your IT resources again in taking some strategic project decisions, while we can use the SaaS vendors to take care of the other functions which are actually of I would say not less important, but yes, they have the expertise, and we don't have to keep a lot of team members in a non-IT organization. We don't have to keep a lot of team members when SaaS vendors are already having those. Also, in case of healthcare, we could use it for improving the deployment of electronic medical records, electronic health records, which nowadays are being used on SaaS. So these were some of the use cases where we could actually use it, and it's been rolling in a very, I would say, very fine manner, wherein the management as well as the IT team both are in a win-win situation.
Great, great. So gave a different perspective altogether with a different industry vertical. And in fact, I heard you telling about the experience part also, because when we do any SaaS implementation or choosing a SaaS product for various reasons, we obviously see the suitability, and suitability also correlates to the experience which you generate, and that experience can be internal or for external people. So that's very important. And what we have seen is this, categorically, if we talk about any SaaS applications, fulfilling either a B2C, B2B or B2C, customers, obviously experience plays a major role. That's very important. So let me once again reach to Dr. Sunil and would like to hear from you that what's your view in terms of ensuring, customer experience on the SaaS product, because on-prem, generally you have freedom, you can choose upon, you can really modify, you can really do a full journey mapping, and then create a custom layer on top of that. But when it comes to SaaS, you have limited authority in terms of modification. So what's your view that how is it that the SaaS product will really ensure the customer experience through its various offerings? So what's your view?